On page 65, you've got the culture video. Let's watch it.
London has been home to many different writers. From Shakespeare to Arthur Conan Doyle, lots of famous authors have lived and worked here, writing about the city and its people. Charles Dickens is one of the most famous. He wrote 15 novels and hundreds of short stories. Many of these are set in London. So why did he write so much about the city? It may be because he knew the city society and its people very well. But it could also be because the Industrial Revolution had transformed London. This new city needed a new storyteller. Charles Dickens was born in Portsmouth in 1812, but moved to London when he was still a young boy. His upbringing wasn't easy. His family were poor, and when he was 12 years old, his father went to prison. Soon afterwards, the young Charles left school and worked in a factory. He worked 10 hours a day, sticking labels on pots of shoe polish. He worked in the factory for a few years, but in 1824 he returned to school. Later, he became a journalist in Fleet Street, the centre of the UK's newspaper industry. But he didn't forget the experiences of his early life. Many of his stories are about poverty and the class system in 19th century London. In 1836, Dickens wrote his first novel, The Pickwick Papers. It was a huge success. It sold thousands of copies, and people all over the world read it. This was a busy time for Dickens. He married in 1837, and the couple moved to 48 Doughty Street, where they started their family. He wrote his second novel here. It was called Oliver Twist. As Dickens became more successful, he met a lot of famous and wealthy people. He became rich and could afford a large house and beautiful furniture. But he continued to write about the working class. Many of his heroes were poor, and many of his villains were rich. His powerful descriptions of poverty in Victorian Britain changed the way people thought and helped to improve working and social conditions. Dickens died in 1870. 55 years later, in 1925, his old house became the Charles Dickens Museum, and it has been a very popular tourist attraction ever since. His stories still entertain, and his descriptions of poverty are still important today.